Hello, good evening and welcome to Love Talk. And today we're going to be talking about abusive and aggressive relationships. Are you stuck in an abusive relationship? Have you experienced this? Do you not know what to do? I have here Elena with me tonight, my wife, of course, as usual.
Hi.
And Elena, usually they say that the other person you're in a relationship with is your better half. Would you really hurt your better half?
Of course not. I wouldn't beat myself up or, bully myself or do all these kind of things. Of course not.
Yet, some people feel they have the right to do that. The thing is, what is holding someone in an abusive relationship that they haven't gotten out yet? Something's holding them there. By the way, today we have someone who's been there, bought the t-shirt, they say, Alison? Right? We have here Alison Ward with us tonight, and she'll tell us about her experience. Alison, you've been there, you've come out, and you have the scars to prove it.
I have. I've come out a better person, but it wasn't a nice place to be, and I certainly wouldn't want anyone to stay in any abusive relationship, whether it's mental or actual physical abuse. And I would urge them now to seek help and help them get out of that relationship.
Before we go into our Facebook comments, how many, if you don't mind me asking, how many scars do you have from that attack, which you'll tell us about in a moment?
Okay. Mental or physical?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
I've forgotten, which actually I'm really happy that I've forgotten. I was stabbed 7 times and beaten up, and my lip was split in 2. But those scars fade very quickly. It's the mental scars that don't fade that do fade over time, but it's the mental scars that affect you more than the physical scars.
Alison is going to tell us about her story in just a moment. First of all, we have a comment of someone who left on Facebook. I'm going to pass my iPad.
My battery just died.
I'm going to pass my iPad here to my wife for her to read the comments to you. Next time she'll have her battery charged. You ready? But this is the good thing about marriage and relationships. We help each other, right? It's actually good. So go ahead.
Yes. One of our Facebook readers said like this. Well, I have been in this position. I was in a relationship for nearly 4 years and there wasn't violence at first. But then the violence started. It was awful. He would come to my work and start. He would find and beat me up on my lunch breaks over paranoia. Look at this. I tried to leave, but every time I did, he used to go to my mom and dad's house and smash the windows of the house and cars. So in the end, I said to myself that I will just stay with him as it stopped my family being involved. I never told them how bad it really was. As all they would say was, leave him, come home. It was easier said than done. Then as the years went past, I finally had the strength to leave. So I did, and something major happened, and he was sent to prison for it. Then shipped off to another part of England, and I am pleased to say I've never seen him ever since. So, and she also said something else, if you don't mind. It's harder than people think to get out of a violent relationship, even though I had no love or feelings for the guy anymore.
I mean, in your opinion, Elena, why is it so hard? I mean, I'm going to ask Alison in a second, but why do you think it's so hard for a woman to get out of an abusive relationship?
First of all, from talking to many people, many women in the past, many say like this: it's either the children, either the kids. Oh, I have children. How am I going to support my children? Or maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm not a good mother. Maybe I'm not a good wife, or whatever. All sorts of silly, thoughts that come to the person's mind. Doesn't make sense.
And usually,
could be anything.
And usually, the couples that we speak to, myself and Elena, we can't really tell people what to do in their relationships. You can only advise. However, my personal opinion, when there is abuse, when there's aggression, violence, is to say to the person, get out. I know it's easy to say for the person to get out, but my opinion is that you have to say to the person, get out. But you were saying, Alison, to me before, that it's difficult for you to come to someone and say for the person to get out of the relationship because they might actually get scared.
Well, if you say get out to someone who's in an abusive relationship initially, that's too big for them to handle.
Right.
You know, getting out might mean you've got to pack the kids up, you've got to change schools, you've got to move house, you've got to get money together.
And many don't even realise they're in an abusive relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had many people say to me since I've written that my story that they didn't realise they were in an abusive relationship until they read it and they read the signs.
Can you tell us about the day that you were attacked by your ex-partner? Tell us about that day briefly. What happened?
It was very interesting looking back now, because the day that it happened was the day that my now husband and my boyfriend at the time was going on a 10-week tour of Europe. And my ex-partner should have been in another part of the country working away. Up until that day, I'd been having a lot of phone calls at night telling me that I was dead and that to watch my back. And I was very, very fearful. But I didn't sort of tell many people about this because I felt I had to deal with it on my own. Eventually I did tell my parents, and they really wanted me to go and stay at home with them. But I didn't. I wanted to be at home with my 2.5-year-old son at the time. So the day it happened was a normal day. It was July the 5th, 1994. And my current boyfriend was on his travels to Europe. I went to work as normal. I took my 2.5-year-old son to nursery as normal, picked him up after nursery, went home, started cooking the tea. And it was while I was cooking the tea that there was a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting any visitors. So I answered the door, and my ex was standing at the door, even though he should have been in another part of the country. But I wasn't concerned initially because he looked clean. I couldn't smell any alcohol on him. And he said that he'd come to discuss the situation with our son for access. So I thought, hallelujah, maybe he's come round to be a bit grown up about it.
Come to his senses.
Come to his senses, and that we'll sort something out so our son knows where he stands, and it'll all be okay. So I invited him in. And the first thing that struck me that was odd was when we went into my tiny little living room, he ignored my son, our son, and yet he'd not seen him for a week or so. I can't remember exactly how long. And my son went running up to him and he ignored him. I thought that was a very strange thing to do, considering not seen him for a while. And then he just announced that he can't stand the thought of anyone else having me, but he didn't want me. And then told me that today was the day that I was going to die. And that after he'd killed me, he was then going to kill himself and my son.
Goodness.
And with that, he just started headbutting me. And I was thrown into a corner of the room where he straddled me. And then he produced a knife from his back pocket and proceeded to stab me in front of my son.
Tell me something. The relationship, when you were in a relationship with him, I imagine, was it an abusive relationship?
Not at first. I was really in love with him, really happy with him. There were a few little signs that concerned me that I pushed away, which I now call red flags and urge people not to push them away.
Signs, isn't it?
So, yeah, such as... there was one time where you were at so-and-so today, yet I knew I wasn't at that place, you know. And then you'd start thinking, well, maybe I was there, and you start to get a little bit confused. Or so-and-so saw you with somebody, and you'd think, well, I've not been with that person. What was he talking about? So it starts off by being very confusing. And then little things snipping in like, I don't like you in those shoes. That dress is too long, that dress is too short, don't like your hair.
But for example, I tell my wife sometimes I don't really like those shoes. But
I bet you like those ones though.
Yeah, these ones are quite nice. But I understand what you're saying, because I mean, it's one thing you saying, you know, like my wife tells me, look, those trousers don't really suit you, or you love the person and you want to make them look the best. But it's not like someone is trying to control you. At that point, someone was trying to control you.
Absolutely.
It's like you every single step.
Absolutely. And then it grows bigger and bigger. And I was telling you earlier, wasn't I, that he said to me the once that, you know, when you walk into the pub and all you hear is laughter and people talking. And he said, you know, when you walk in the pub and you hear laughter, and I'm like, yeah, they're laughing because they cannot believe how ugly you are.
Oh my
And that was at the point where I was so confused. I started to doubt my own mind, my own feelings, and it escalated.
But it took you a while for you to realise that you were in an abusive relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
That is amazing from what I read from your story.
Yeah, it did take me a while, and part of that was I didn't pay attention to my feelings. I kept having this funny gut feeling that something wasn't right, and I'd just ignore it and I'd discount it. And then because I was a sort of person that was so trusting, I would think that if I tried harder, if I was more loving, if I was a better cook, if I was a better mom, you know, then he'd love me more. Or maybe it's my fault. And I think a lot of women and maybe men who are abused as well take it on board that it's their fault, it's down to them.
What I'd like to do on the second half of this program, I'd like for us to put ourselves in the shoes of people who are watching us now and they may be going through abuse. But maybe I think in the interest of closing that story, at that time that he was stabbing you and he headbutted you and he was hitting you, how was that moment for you? Did you think that was it? You were going to die there?
I knew that was the day I was going to die. I absolutely, and I still know that to this day.
It must have been really terrifying.
It was. I remember feeling, oh my God, I'm watching a horror film, and then realising I wasn't watching a film. That we were actually in the film. So I had that surreal moment of slipping out of time, and thinking I was actually watching a film, and then feeling the pain, because that pain was physically torturous. But to receive that sort of pain in front of your child, who's 2.5 and who you love with every being of you, and that, you know, your role as a mother is to protect and nurture. I wasn't protecting my child, you know, at that time. I wasn't able to protect him. It was torturous on so many levels, and some of which I can't even express because I don't think there are words to express it.
So, but you're here to tell the story now.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. But what we'd like to do on the second part of this program is we're going to talk about you at home. You that maybe you say, Elena, like this, look, my boyfriend never hit me. Maybe he doesn't hit you, but he, like you said, some words, they leave more scars than blows.
Little comments, you know, little things such as, you know, you will never get anyone better than me if you leave me. You are this, you are that, you are no good. You're good for nothing, you are fat, you are this, you are that. There's so many...
And maybe this is the guy you're going to marry. Or maybe this is the girl, the woman you're going to marry. Maybe, you know, you think, and people have advised you, maybe you shouldn't be in this relationship, but you don't know what to do. So the second part of the program is going to be about you. You've heard about Alison, and Alison will be here with us in the second part of the program, and maybe even talking from her experience why maybe you who are in an abusive relationship, you can't get out of that. And perhaps that would be the best option.
Can I just remind our viewers at home that they can visit our website, www.lovetalkshow.tv, and they can comment on the show. They can also email us on lovelab@lovetalkshow.tv. That's lovelab@lovetalkshow.tv. We'll be back straight after this break.
Welcome back to Love Talk. Today we're talking about abusive and aggressive relationships. And this second part now of the program, we're going to talk about you. So in a few moments, we're going to talk about you who are in an abusive relationship and how you can change that. And it's just important to notice that we recently had on the media a very important example of someone who's controlling, who's abusive. Justin Lee Collins, who, by the way, I thought he's quite a funny guy. You know, there was this case going on where he was charged and he was found guilty of abusing his girlfriend, I think. And ridiculously, he was, I think, given 140 hours of community service and £3,500 of a fine to pay. But that's nothing for him. And I don't know if we can mention this on the program, but the ex-partner who assaulted you and nearly killed you, he got less than a slap on the wrist as well, right?
He did. He got he was sentenced to 3 years and served 18 months, 12 months in an open prison where he got fit.
Yeah, 12 months in prison for almost killing you.
And our son.
Oh,
yeah, and your son. I mean, that's...
And all the marks he left on you and on your son. Hopefully, he doesn't remember most of it.
He does remember some, but I think because we've always encouraged him to speak and about his feelings, he's turned out into a really well balanced, confident young man.
That's great.
Yeah.
But now the question on my mind, Alison, and I believe in your mind, Elena, and people at home, is this: if you are in an abusive relationship, why doesn't a person get out? I mean, when you noticed that relationship was abusive at that point, why didn't you get out straight away?
One of the main things is you're ashamed, you're incredibly embarrassed, you think it's your fault, you think there must be something that you're not doing. Right. You don't look at it being the other partner, that he or she is reacting that way to you because it's a shortfall of yours.
We always think that maybe we're not good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
And it's always a self-esteem issue, but also what normally happens is the perpetrator will start to chip away at their partner's self-esteem, and they start very subtly. Yeah, and then it builds up, and before they know it, you lose who you are, you forget who you are, you lose your identity, and also what they tend to do is they move your friends and family away from you.
And maybe, Elena, maybe the person's watching us now, and it's like this. It's like the person is trying to see how far they can go. Yeah. Do you understand?
Yes, and also what she was saying, James, it's like they can sense, the way she, the woman is, if she's a bit like, she's easy to control, absolutely. If she's like, her self-confidence is like going away in a way, and if maybe she already has a low self-esteem, when they met, so it's like, this one is going to be easy.
So do you think he tests the water, see how far he can go with you until he...
I think he pushed and pushed and pushed until it reached the point where he couldn't push anymore.
There was nothing left.
No. No.
So, I mean, Alison, if a person is watching us now and they're saying like this, look, I see signs in my relationship that someone is trying to control me. In a minute, I want to talk about women who abuse men.
Yeah.
I have an experience with that, not in my life, but we'll talk about that. But the person notices that someone is trying to control them. What should they do?
First of all, they need to admit it to themselves. So if there's someone watching this and they say, I'm recognising these signs, you've got to admit it to yourself, because the only person who can change it is yourself. I can also say from experience and from observing over the years that if you don't get out of an abusive situation, it will mount up until it will become violent. And we've talked about some examples earlier.
And you don't need to wait to be married. You need to look at the signs from, when you're dating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How many people do we hear from advising couples and single people saying, oh, my boyfriend used to do this to me, used to do that. And we know already because of the experience we have, but it's like they don't see. So we need to, people have to, how can I say, they need to be like this, hold on, I am better than this. Why is he treating me like this? Why is he putting me down? Why is he wanting to know where I've been, like in strange hours of the day, because I'm supposed to be working. That's a normal thing to do. Yeah. Who were you talking with? What were you doing? Who was that on the phone? And so on. I mean, these are signs from early stages.
They are signs, and what I would also suggest if someone is in that position right now is to go and speak to someone who can be objective. To someone maybe who you don't know, whether it's a doctor, a counsellor, a good friend, a trusted work colleague, and just say, look, can you just hear me out? This is what's happening. Is it normal? Is it healthy? Because when you're in it, it's your normal life. So you don't realise that it's not
you are
healthy.
So involved.
You're in it, that's right, you're so right in the midst of it. So if you can share it with someone else and they can say, well, actually, no, that isn't right.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I want you to understand, you who are watching us now, I want you to understand this. You were alive and well before you met this person, and you will be alive and well if you're not with this person. It's not the end of the world. Actually, maybe it will be a benefit to you. So we're not encouraging you to break up or to end a relationship, but if there's violence, I don't think there's... Can there ever be justification for violence?
No.
Tolerance zero. That's my complete opinion.
No justification.
No.
I agree with you, but I just wanted to hear it from you.
Oh, absolutely no. I'll stand up and shout that from the rooftops.
Right.
No.
So yeah, I mean, like we were saying, if a person is in an abusive relationship, I think you have to understand, when you end a relationship that is abusive, you may go through a rough period because you're adjusting again. But you were well before and you will be well after, don't you think so?
You could actually be happier afterwards.
No, you will be happier afterwards.
Of course.
I don't think you could be, I think you will be.
Yeah. I'm the happiest I've ever been in any relationship. And it's been 18 years since what happened to me.
Yeah.
And look at her, so beautiful. I have to say this on camera. Can't believe you used to say you were ugly, honestly.
Did you
My light's shining
Did you
now,
used to
so I
say that you were ugly? Did you
I
say
thought
that?
I was absolutely disgusting.
You
That's
thought
why
that?
people used to laugh at her
Yeah.
when she would enter a pub.
That's right. So when he told me that people were laughing at me when I walked into the pub because I was so ugly, I believed him, because my self-esteem was totally on the floor by this time, that I thought I was absolutely repulsive to look at.
But you see, this leads me to say something. For example, if your partner, your boyfriend, husband, whatever, tells you, oh, you are ugly, you are fat, you are good for nothing, you are a terrible mother, I mean, use your brains, use your intelligence and hold on. What makes him say why? Why? Ask yourself why. Is it true? Don't just accept it.
And if someone loves you, they're not going to say that to you, right?
Yeah,
they're going to
not-
compliment you.
Exactly.
Can we just talk a little bit now, Elena, about, and Alison, about women who abuse men?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, people don't talk about that much, but I have an example, someone close to me who went through that. He was engaged for quite a few years. They moved in together, refurbished a home together. But those 7 years were 7 depressing years because she was controlling him and putting him down all the time. So that happens as well.
Yeah.
Not all men are terrible, right? You have a good husband
I
now.
do, absolutely. I've also experienced hearing that myself. And the guy who was abused was 6 foot and his partner was 5 foot, about size 8. And he
Oh
was
my.
abused every day by this woman.
And what do you think made him be abused by someone who was half his size? Is it something mental?
I also believe it's the self-esteem. It's got to be a self-esteem, self-confidence issue, because the abuser will be able to gauge that there is a weakness in that person and they go in for a weakness. It's just like a bully in the playground.
If they say, for example, if you are bullied at school and you quickly stand up and say, hold on, what is this? Why are you treating me like this?
Yeah.
Why are you bullying me? The person won't carry on doing it.
Yeah.
So they sense this.
They do sense, but it's a build-up, isn't it? That's what happens. It starts off as abuse, whether it's mental or physical, and then it'll actually be, actual physical abuse. So it starts off very
sad.
gradually, normally.
Yeah. And a relationship is supposed to be something really pleasant, really nice, really that builds up.
And the person who's been abused, I don't know if this happened to you, they think this is, it's normal.
Yeah.
Couples go through this. It's okay, he slapped me on the face, If James would ever do that to me,
We wouldn't be here today.
we wouldn't be here a second afterwards. But I'm just trying to say that people, they actually think it's normal. There's nothing better beyond. Maybe it's normal. Everyone goes through that.
Did you ever think
It's
that
not normal.
No one would want you if that relationship didn't work?
Yeah, but I didn't really care if anyone didn't want me, because I didn't want myself, to be honest. I was flat on the floor. I just was in such a deep pit that,
I mean, what I'd like to do now, I want to have a word. I'd like you, Elena, to have a word with the women for a few moments and tell them what to do, give them an advice if they're in an abusive relationship. But I want to do the same for the men as well. So this will be the last part of the program. But Alison, I wanted to really thank you for being here.
Pleasure, thank you.
It was really good meeting you.
You are an inspiration.
Thank you.
So you've been almost 20 years with a happy relationship, a happy marriage.
Yeah, I have, and a really genuine, lovely person who enjoyed to be my partner.
So if someone has been abused and suffered, they can still be happy, right?
They can be happy as long as they accept and understand it has to start with them.
Right.
They have to start building up their self-esteem, their confidence,
loving themselves,
and loving themselves, and recognising that no, it's not good enough, and to not settle for less than. We all deserve to be happy. It's our right to be happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elena, I want you to speak to the women that are going through an abusive relationship. What do you think they should do?
Well, first of all, if you are dating, if you didn't get married yet, or you're not yet living together with a person, the signs are very important. Signs, okay? You need to look at the signs. Oh, it's normal. Talk to someone. Ask people's opinion. People who, you know, someone that you feel comfortable with, ask them, is this normal? And second of all, if you are in a relationship where you've been abused for a while, I mean, you deserve better than that. You need to learn to, like our lovely guest said, you need to learn to love yourself, to value yourself. You are unique. There's no one like you out there. There's no one like you, and there will never be. So why you? Why do you deserve to? Why would you deserve to be treated like this? There's no excuse, and it's never too late.
So would you say for them to make a decision?
Yes, make a decision and fast.
Okay. Now, what I'd like to say to the men is this. You know, a relationship is supposed to make you feel better, to add value, okay? A man and a woman, that's 1 + 1. It has to equal 2, okay? If it equals 1 still, or -1, then things are not good. If you feel depressed, if you feel down, if you feel oppressed in a relationship, then that's not right. There are things you can work with. So if there's problems, if there's disagreements, that's normal. If there's abuse, if there's violence, that is not normal, and you can't work through that. And if your safety is at risk, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, then I believe that you have to make a move, you know, make a decision and move on. I can't decide that for you. As Alison said, it has to start with you. If you don't decide that, nobody can. Okay? It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
Just a quick thing before we leave, just reminding our viewers at home again, visit our webpage, lovetalkshow.tv. Also, we have a Facebook page, Love Talk Show, and also our email address, lovelab@lovetalkshow.tv. If I'm not wrong.
Well, the addresses are there on your screen. Feel free to leave your comments there, and we'll read them out in future programs.
That's right.
Have a wonderful night.